LucifroN playing as the English. This is the first set of day number 3. Thank you for being with us here at N4C. Both players now casually making their way out with their scouts. It's only one scout for each player, and they're going to explore a little bit, find some extra sheep, and formulate their game plans. Do you think they're both opening longbow, or are we going to see some sort of mix-up like we've seen with the DeMusliM in the past where you open stable?
I actually talked to Viper before the matchup, right? Obviously, good friend of mine. We're in the same team, and I felt like, wow, he's going down 0-2. Lots of Age of Empires 2 eyes on him, lots of Gamer Legion eyes on him, and I wanted to make sure. He said he was feeling great. Obviously, they draft map civs well ahead of time, and we talked a bit through the English matchup. He will open Longbowman and thinks that the stable opening isn't that crazy good, and he thinks he can adjust to it.
Okay. So what are these players looking for immediately in terms of resource placement here when they're scouting?
The thing is, in English war, you go for horsemen, spearmen, and longbowmen. Nothing of that costs gold. So you can survive quite a long time without gold, so not the most important thing to look out for. The big question mark is, where is your deer positioned? Because normally you go for a lot of farms, but if you can put the mill next to the deer, you will take it.
Yeah, and it looks like the deer position for LucifroN is quite near his TC. It's also at the back, and I believe for Viper, it's a little bit more forward, but it's right there.
Yeah, yeah. Since you're kind of playing in a smaller room due to all the cliffs here on Altai, those deer, at least one patch, always spawns really close to a town center. You can see Viper's already using that one. And
is that early wheelbarrow there for Viper? It looks
yes,
like it.
It is. And as you can see, he still has 3 villagers on gold there. So we'll keep up some production. We'll still advance reasonably quickly. 4 on gold even. Ooh.
It's been interesting listening to the players because there's definite opinions on when you get wheelbarrow. Obviously, it depends on the civs, but some players believe in it a lot more than others.
Yeah. Oh, and look at that. LucifroN plays
a stone.
Second TC timing. So Viper goes for the eco approach, going for the early upgrade. LucifroN goes for the eco approach. And look at that. He builds his landmark with only 1 villager. Really efficient, but really slow.
You know, with this map setup, second TC might work here. I mean, he's got the wood line in the back that he can go to, and then there's a definite choke point through the middle that he can kind of hold off Viper's military through. And Viper's not the type of guy to go for an all-in push either.
Yeah, yeah. Look at that. How much later he is with clicking up due to wheelbarrow. Now tries to compensate for that, building the landmark with 4 villages. Obviously counter hall, no surprise. Trying to go for a longbow. The big question, does Viper, even with upgrades, feel like he needs to do damage? Most of the time against 2TC, he does.
And both players will be up shortly to the next stage. We see a lot of sheep trailing there for LucifroN, so he's going to bring those back to the TC. Obviously, farms feel pretty good at English, but it's never a bad thing to have that extra food available for you, especially if you're going for that second TC approach.
Yeah, and well, the second TC, you don't really want to farm around it, right? You want to farm around the mill, get that better income for yourself. So I think sheep for the opening is nice. Eventually, mass farming, just beautiful for English.
Okay, still only building with 2. So LucifroN really taking his time to go up. I think Viper, I believe he still had the 4 on his landmark. Okay, pulled one away to make a house, and now he's going to put it back. And both players should be up at relatively the same time. I guess the questions just revolve around what is the opening for these guys. Viper, it feels like he's going to go heavier onto longbow, and then, of course, LucifroN with that second TC. But does he start with longbows in defense? Does he add in another production building?
It has to be the longbow defense. Going for another building, simply not really an option. You're so starved on wood. As you can see, already has 400 wood, but Longbowman will cost some of that. Actually, a quite nice build-up. I think he might start the second town center before 5:30.
And Viper reaching the feudal age. LucifroN right behind him. And Viper will immediately start with that longbow production. And there's the second town center from LucifroN. And the longbows won't be there in time to delay that. And that's going to kind of shut off that entire front side of the map for LucifroN. And he does still have that back wood line to fall back to as well.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. But obviously the TC there, so might be idled quite a bit if the longbowmen are getting a nice position. Viper Scout was relatively late, but now joins the party, sees lots of stone taken, sees the second town center. He knows exactly what's up.
Yeah, and I wonder what the transition is going to be for him. Is he going to make his way maybe faster up to the third age, knowing that there's more investment there from LucifroN, or is he going to go heavy into military in age 2?
Well, he needs to do something to not die to potential ram push. For now, Longbowman at home feels like a very reasonable positioning. Town Center will go up in time.
Ooh, we have our heart rates there.
Oh, Viper really calm.
Viper
really
50,
calm.
he's asleep.
Is it too early for him?
He isn't. He constantly complains about playing later on in the day. We know his schedule. I mean, he wakes up early, starts streaming early, and he looks very comfortable in this situation. LucifroN, though, still at 68 heart rate, so that's always great to see. I love that added feature here at N4C. And the Longbowmen now making their way over to that right side. He's got to be careful about the TC fire, but he knows exactly where the TC is. He had scouted that earlier, and LucifroN's going to have some Longbowmen of his own in defense.
Oh, Scout goes down. First blood of this game. Longbowman numbers feel reasonable.
And the fight begins here. LucifroN with quite a few longbows behind. Enough to defend, it seems like. The villager count will start to climb for him. He's at 27 villagers right now. Viper at 25. Pretty passive opening here for Viper, considering he knew his opponent was going second TC.
The question now is, do we add the blacksmith? What upgrades are we going for? You could go for the attack. You could go for some rams. Transitioning into Castle Age is a bit more of a question mark. Viper still has a villager on gold, so could afford those upgrades. As you can see on the other side, LucifroN stayed away from gold for quite some time. Now pulled all of them away again.
Yeah, and Viper already getting those farms down. He basically ran through all the deer, and I think LucifroN will start adding those a little bit later than him. Military numbers now, 15 for Viper, 11 for LucifroN, but LucifroN's villager lead keeps climbing here. I'm surprised it's not a bigger difference.
Climbing like the Viper's pulse. Look at that. Didn't we just 2 minutes, 3 minutes ago have 62? He knows what's up. Like, he feels the pressure here. Longbowman now trying to get into it, and Viper, he knows how much is on the line, being down 0-2 overall.
How would you approach this from Viper's position? You know your opponent went second TC. You know you're going to be behind. Oh, he's going for a forward outpost. Okay, so he's going to try and pressure LucifroN a little bit and compensate for that villager deficit.
40 military to 12. Obviously, defender's advantage relatively big here. The scout, finds another kill. Viper, that won't be the greatest aggression. Has to build the outpost way more defensively than he wanted to.
Yeah, and this is like a stepping stone outpost, right? You make this one safe so you can always fall back to it, and you're going to make one a little bit more forward. Great job from LucifroN, though, to take that position and deny that outpost coming up on the other side of the wood line. He's been like aggressively defensive with this force, and I really love it. He's not falling back to his TC as much as he could.
The thing is, though, Viper, he just wants to trade off some HP. He already has Campfire. He can get back to full HP if he wants to, if he just chills a small moment. But on the other side, LucifroN didn't research that yet.
And we hear the first few Strelbora yells. They won't be the last in this mirror matchup. Villager count now 38 for LucifroN, 31 for Viper. Remember, Viper, though, has Wheelbarrow, so that's going to compensate a little bit for that villager difference. The outpost is now up, and the villager runs forward again. And now LucifroN has switched to this side. He keeps like coming out a little bit, checking for the outpost, potential to deny it, potential to get some good trades. And his villagers have not been under threat yet in this game. Campfire now coming in for LucifroN, and he still remains at around 68 heart rate, so he's not stressed about this situation at all.
So calm. That's really impressive. Next tower, maybe for the villager there. Viper now moves in again. Soon breaks 100 pulse. For everyone who thinks like, okay, now it's 33 villagers against 43. How big is the difference? You can roughly estimate 8 to 10% efficiency with Wheelbarrow.
99 heart rate. He just broke 100. What's happening? Do we not see something? Is he being attacked by a wolf? What's going on
here? He is getting attacked by a wolf, Dave. You knew it.
My blood pressure rises at that sound too.
Okay, he knows a big fight might be upon him here, and now goes for an engagement. The big spread by LucifroN.
Yeah, Viper, heart rate's still climbing here, and he's just taking the same fight over and over again. It's like deja vu here in this game so far. They keep healing up their own units. The outpost almost complete from Viper, so he's going to get vision on that wood line, but still can't penetrate LucifroN's base. We're looking at the resources now. Very even resource bank for both players, although Viper has 280 stone now.
Can maybe follow it up with his own town center. Could also go for arrow slits, get some extra range there. Should have enough vision over the woodline, especially with the scout. But as you mentioned earlier, LucifroN could still fall back to the second woodline further back.
Yeah, and it's great vision over this whole area now from Viper with that outpost behind the wood line. But the army's still relatively even. 23 for Viper, 21 for LucifroN. LucifroN losing quite a few units there, though. Viper killing 3 and LucifroN only taking 1. And Viper healing up behind this. So he's just looking to pick away slowly. It's 23 to 18 now, but villager count 51 to 37.
Both players having the 1 extra damage on those longbow men. Viper researching the armor. And a stable switch here. We could see Horseman in the queue.
Yeah, and if you go Horseman, how many do you want to build up before you send them out?
It's so tricky, right? You want to wait the longer if the numbers are bigger. I think in this one I would not attack unless I have like 4 horsemen at least.
Yeah, and he's already got the Pierce armor as well. So he's going to be able to get better trades than Viper did against DeMusliM without that armor. We did ask Viper after that set. You know, I came up to him, I'm like, did you know you didn't have the armor? And he kind of rolled his eyes. He's like, yeah, I've been told, 5 or 6 times already.
Yeah, that's pretty ugly there for him. The Q, look at that. Scout now being added, wants to get more vision. LucifroN goes for Horseman, goes for Longbowman. And Viper, I don't think he actually knows about the Horseman switch, so could be a bit off guard.
He has to suspect, though, right? Opponent's going 2 TC. He's just kind of defending with longbows. It's either you're going up to the 3rd age or you're making that Horseman switch.
Actually, like 2 TCs also could delay your castle age timing a bit. And you see the Viper, I think he is not really forcing the issue. 600 food, 500 gold, just idle for another minute and you can go up. But loses his scout without seeing the Horseman.
Yeah, he just got shot by that TC. And LucifroN has already abandoned that woodline and has gone back to the woodline to the other side of his base. Viper setting up his farming eco. Viper banking a lot of resources. And what are those barracks for Viper? So he's making the switch into men-at-arms. And LucifroN maybe will be caught off guard by this a little bit.
The big question, the Viper, what is he going for? Is it the extra town center at home? Is he maybe trying to build the keep in a strategic position in the center of the map? Something I did not really expect is siege engineers out of LucifroN. He will go for ramps and try to clear up those towers, take away the map control from the Viper.
And I like how Viper's fortifying those towers forward. He's just kind of keeping that position at the front, and he's not going to make it easy for LucifroN to take back map control. He knows that's one of the advantages he has in this game, going for the 1 town center approach. And there's the King's Palace, so he's going to go up to the 3rd age. LucifroN's still looking around with his scout. If he gets vision on this King's Palace, he'll know that Viper will be in age 3 before him. LucifroN's still at around 69 heartbeat, and Viper's heartbeat, it's starting to drop a little bit.
Yeah, like shortly before the fights, we went up like 115, 120. Now it's kind of the phase where we are slowing down a bit. Obviously, the big question mark is how high will it get once we get the big fight, because that's upon us, right? Although not a lot of food for the Viper, I don't think you can go for too many men-at-arms.
I think he was adding some more farms. I knew LucifroN was adding some more farms, so we should be able to see that income start to climb. The ram is now out. Viper might be surprised by this. LucifroN making that ram well within his base, so Viper couldn't see it coming. And now the horsemen are coming in, and they do have that armor. Viper is going to run back around his outpost, which he's also fortified up on that hill, and LucifroN will have to take it slow with this push through the middle. Viper in age 3, LucifroN still in age 2, but he's banking up the resources.
Viper, you don't really want to fight before you have your castle age upgrade. Yeah, he has the hill, goes for a men-at-arm upgrade there as well.
It's looking pretty good right now. I don't know. He's taken some really good trades. I think he lost, what, 4 units, and LucifroN maybe 7, 8 units there.
Actually impressive, yeah, and now he has the veteran upgrade here, pretty nice. And you lose a tower, but at a beautiful spot, so just rebuild it.
Yep, and LucifroN needs to retreat with the ram, and he actually lost some HP on that ram as well. LucifroN with a decent eco behind this, but it's very, very cramped. He's got 73 villagers. Viper sitting at 47. Remember, Viper had Wheelbarrow early, but LucifroN has bridged that gap. He got Wheelbarrow not too long ago. Loses the first villager of the game, I believe.
Yeah, pretty crazy how he defended so well. Obviously, the woodline helped him out to defend against the longman. But remember, Viper, yeah, he has the better army right now. He has the better upgrades. But you kind of need to see something. happen.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
it feels like he's on a clock.
Yeah, 25 villagers advantage.
25 villager advantage, and I think he's firmly making a switch now. We see 4 men-at-arms in the queue. The horsemen are running around trying to find some villager picks. I don't think Viper spotted those, so maybe LucifroN can get into the back. I know Viper had some farms at the back that maybe he can pick away at, and Viper has decided to switch up his plane of attack. He's going to go over to the farms here from LucifroN. There's longbows there, but I don't think it's enough to defend at the moment, and Viper has those 2 men-at-arms in front. So all that farming economy that LucifroN just added, completely idle.
Uh-oh, food income will go down, certainly. We also see the 3 TC approach here, quite interesting. And the Viper, he wants to push in further. The big question is, how well will the horseman do? Oh, nice interception here, but men-at-arms will actually deal with that quite reasonably well.
Yeah, great spot there from the Viper. And also, I noticed that stable was not complete. LucifroN tried to drop that second stable, so he was going to go into more horsemen there, and he wasn't able to complete that. He's now pushing these away with his own longbowmen, but those farms are still idle, and now LucifroN heads back. Viper's just going to sit here. He's going to pick away at the farms, hope for a good engagement. LucifroN now with some cavalry coming in, but the men-at-arms are there from Viper. This fight is going to decide a whole lot. Viper needs to keep this forward military position because LucifroN is still up by 20+ villagers.
Armor really good for those men-at-arms. Now finished the second armor upgrade against ranged unit horseman raid. Not really doing too much. Nice spot there by the Viper. It still feels like, yeah, Viper is active, but he's running out of time a bit. 30 villagers behind soon.
Yep, getting the second range upgrade here for Viper, so he's going to have a little bit more attack than LucifroN does. Oh, LucifroN's getting it as well, so they're going to have more or less even upgrades. As the Ram comes in, Ram will be dealt with by the men-at-arms. It took down one outpost, can't quite get the second, and Viper once again will shift up his angle of attack back to that right side. LucifroN now making the switch into infantry.
And LucifroN just started some new farms there, now has to abandon that area. Nice pickoff, and the base just feels so open. Viper, he's pressuring quite nicely. Is there an option to maybe split the army, or do you want to keep everything together?
I think when you see the cavalry, you get nervous about that, right? Because if you have this current force, LucifroN can't kill. But if you split this in half and LucifroN takes a gamble and sends all of his army to one side, he could potentially take out Viper, 50% of Viper's military.
Yeah, that could be really efficient. Oh, look at that. Counter-attack now. LucifroN also taking into men-at-arms, so likes the idea of that. Feels like, okay, the Knights aren't really doing too much. Let's take a look at the raid. Oh, we'll find some villager kills.
Yeah, great stuff there from LucifroN. He knows he can't engage the army directly, so he's just going to send 3 of these knights around and pick off some of those villagers on the barracks, on the berries there, and idle the farming eco. It's his turn now to idle some farming eco from Viper. And Viper right now just has a couple men-at-arms back. He's got the TC fire to deal with this, but now he has to pull the villagers from the wood line. It's still 90 villagers for LucifroN, 58 for Viper, and the heart rate once again climbing for the Norwegian as he needs to run away with more villagers, and LucifroN is doing a great job here picking out the exposed ones.
Viper going for the monastery, tries to play the late game. Relic positioning is something we didn't really take a look at. Not the most important thing in English mirrors though, simply because your farms are generating so much gold for you as well.
Viper has 526 stone. Is he thinking maybe of a keep forward? I mean, at this point, it feels like it's too late to kind of add that second TC unless you get significant damage here.
Remember, he went for King's Palace, so second TC for
third
Viper
TC,
as well.
basically, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And 2 TCs is kind of fine, right? You're idling some of the eco of your opponent as well. Yeah, you're falling behind, but an aggressive keep could just force so much more idle time at it. Maybe a different angle, right? Keep right-hand side, army left-hand side, and he idles half of the farm economy.
Yeah, if you can keep the keep it safe while you're building it, that's definitely a risk. The men-at-arms now coming in, all that farming economy idled once again. Viper liking to sit on top of this hill, but LucifroN comfortably farming on the other side, and he's actually running out of that wood line at the back, so Viper might be able to take a forward position. LucifroN is definitely on a timer on that wood line.
Sick. And I talked to Viper earlier in the match when I said, English mirror, you have to take care about the wood line, and he was like, yeah, Nilly, I know. So he knows exactly. He knows exactly how important those woodlines are. You obviously only get 2 major wood lines generated on this map.
I can just imagine the patronizing tone that he took.
I thought I was smart, and he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, thank you, Mr. Obvious.
All right, so the Men-at-Arms getting into the Longbowmen, and he's going to push them back. Viper still has the Longbowmen behind that. LucifroN with some Men-at-Arms of his own. Viper has to be careful in this situation. I think I see a blue dot on the other side, so maybe Viper is coming forward with something. Yeah, he's coming forward with some infantry, some spearmen and Men-at-Arms mixed in there to raid the farming economy, but his whole army on this side looks like it's going to be wiped up.
Viper still at 50 military, now has enough stone for the keep, runs away with the Longbowman there, might find the gold at the very top if he's running away. That's actually maybe surprisingly
And LucifroN
fortunate.
hasn't noticed this yet.
Uh-oh.
He hasn't noticed this, so this is a great little misdirection there from Viper. He almost gave away some of his army on the other side, managed to kill some villagers. It's still 95 villagers to 68 from Viper. Viper now at 120 heart rate here. LucifroN still hanging out at around 76. Siege Workshop and Keep. Ooh.
A bit further back than I thought, and a bit further back than he initially aimed for. Oh, this Longbowman. Just move a bit further. Could find so many kills, but something we have to mention, Viper was constantly ahead in military count after this engagement. The first time that LucifroN took the lead in military count, obviously was always ahead in villages.
I don't think Viper suspects that LucifroN would be on that gold back there. He's looping a couple Longbowmen around the far side at the bottom of the map, trying to get to that wood line maybe at the back and scout that out and see how much LucifroN has left. Viper also has the second relic on the way. With this overlay, we do have a relic counter, but it counts picked up relics as well. So once that relic is dropped off, then Viper will actually have 2.
Ram going out through the center, wants to deal with that tower, but surprise, we also have a keep behind this one, and Viper, Siege Workshop there, but not really using it. Rams can't really be too protected though.
What's LucifroN's gold situation looking like, other than that one in the top corner there near the longbows? Because I see a gold forward.
That's the second one, and the other one forward, so he probably ran out of the one in his base. Not looking too hot. I think he's mainly relying on the one at the top.
Yeah, and Viper now with 73 villagers, he's still around 30 villagers behind LucifroN. He does have the wood upgrade. LucifroN now getting the first farm upgrade, and LucifroN with 56 military versus 48 Viper, stealthily taking back that third relic as well.
MarineLorD now on the field could be really good against the low HP units. Oh, tried to go for the conversion, but just passing by. As LucifroN now goes for it again, wants to stop the relic from getting home.
Yeah, and Viper targeting those longbows as soon as they get close with his longbows on the hill. Obviously, he does have the keep there, so it's very difficult for LucifroN to push up. But look at how many villagers LucifroN has on the wood right now. Viper knows that LucifroN is desperate for wood.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, those will all be exposed. Viper just finished the upgrade to get 50% extra damage in the range of his outpost and keeps. So really impossible to fight against this one if you're LucifroN right now. Viper with a nice positioning, but LucifroN, he has so many resources that he can rely on pretty soon.
Yeah. I said he was desperate for wood, and then I looked up and he had 1,600 wood in the bag, maybe taking that while he can, while he feels like he's safe. He's now coming forward with a massive army. 75 military for LucifroN, 55 for Viper. Of course, he's got this keep up on the hill. He's got a mangonel out now, so he's going to take some good shots there, but needs to fall back. LucifroN is all in on this fight. He gets the men-at-arms in on the longbows. Viper will need to retreat. He's also trying to take out that mangonel. Mangonel targeting the longbows, but the mangonel goes down, and Viper's military count really dropping. LucifroN still above 70. The production is great for him, and LucifroN looks like he's going to be able to take a great fight here, even sitting under the keep.
Oh yeah, that was really big move here. Sacred Side being neutralized there as well for now. But look at that one. The keep is just doing so much damage. Viper is microing back. He got completely overwhelmed when it came to numbers. But the Mangonel got some good shots in. Still the tower, still the keep. I think this is a reasonable engagement for the Viper. He was just so outnumbered to begin with.
Yeah, and he's going to lose that keep position. And throughout this entire game, his advantage has been map control, right? Earlier it was military. LucifroN even that up, but once he loses this keep, once he loses this hill, LucifroN will be able to expand to the other wood lines, to the other gold positions, and Viper is the one that's going to be have to look to do damage and retake this middle hill.
Whoa, look at that amount of men-at-arms still alive. I thought it was a risky move by LucifroN, but he calculated that one beautifully. Ram still working on the keep, and the Mangonel only got one shot out.
Villager difference still 44.
Wow.
It's actually insane at this point. And Viper with 3 relics, to be fair, but he just can't keep up on production. LucifroN back up to 42 military. Viper sitting at 27 military here. Things are looking rough for him, but the keep is still alive.
And if he kills the ram, the keep will stay alive. And look at that. Viper still keeps up this position. LucifroN reclaiming some of the gold simply because he has a map control. At least I thought so, but not really on it.
Look at the food and gold income from both players. We've got 2,500 per minute for LucifroN. Viper, 1,400. Gold, 375 for Viper, 1,000 for LucifroN. As a second keep comes up here from Viper, can he keep this foundation alive as he has limited numbers of men-at-arms, and LucifroN back up to 50 military. Viper's heart rate spiking once again. LucifroN feeling like he's in a comfortable position. Viper trying to micro down the units with his longbows, but he just doesn't have enough.
One trap shooting from distance, ramming in there as well. Viper's military simply half of what LucifroN is throwing in there. The keep will go down eventually, and LucifroN has to be really happy how he took those engagements. Simply the great numbers of men-at-arms had to surprise the Viper.
Yeah, and Viper now has to, that's the worst feeling in the world when you have to pull the villagers back from a foundation, especially when you place it right beside another keep, and now he's just sending them out there. He's like, I need to get this up or else I'm dead, and even if he gets it up, it goes down immediately right after that. Now it's LucifroN's turn to come out with the outpost, and I think we might have seen LucifroN take game number 1. Completely different openings there. Viper going for longbows, Viper going for the early wheelbarrow, LucifroN going early onto stone, and it just seemed like a better build for the Spaniard.
Yeah, it indeed looked like it. Went for the front wood line to, after getting pressured, going for the back wood line. Beautiful strategic plays. Played so defensively. Then went for the stable and went for the super weird amount of 5 horsemen. It kind of forced Viper to not really engage. You didn't really know, okay, how are numbers going to look like? And Viper felt like, okay, I can't really pressure, but the castle age timing of LucifroN was actually pretty reasonable behind this.
Yeah, and I mean, Viper was able to cut off a couple of those farms on the other side, but LucifroN just simply put them on the bottom side.
So cheap.
Instead, yeah.
So cheap for English there. And he didn't find like the major amount of villager kills earlier on. Plus, LucifroN was basically on 3 town centers, so could really pump out those numbers. Viper taking an L in a mirror matchup. Now can decide on what map he wants to pick. Dry Arabia and Lipany, his home maps. Really aggressive maps.
What does Viper favor on these open land maps here?
Typically, obviously, Delhi are great, Mongols are great. He also is a big fan of French. The question, French, not performing too well against either Mongols or Abbasid lately, so kind of a question mark. Hill and Dale, Highview, this is tough to predict. I think we could see both players surprising each other with what civilizations they're going for.
So game 2 will be Lipany. We have that up on the overlay now. What would you go for in LucifroN's position here? Viper's home map, Lipany, played the English mirror the first game.
The thing is, if I'm against the Viper, I feel like he never goes Mongols here. So I think I'd go Mongols and try to make it 2-0. But that's just me speculating, like how Viper thinks. He is kind of trying to always set himself up for the long set. And I think Viper, maybe French on Lipany, feels a bit more likely, but I wouldn't be surprised if he goes Mongols.
Didn't we see, was it Rus on Lipany yesterday?
I think it was in Highview there, pretty solid.
Highview.
Ooh, okay, look at that.
And we have Abbasid for Viper, and we have French for LucifroN. So Viper will be playing without the French, and LucifroN has decided to go for, I would say, a safe civilization.
Yeah, absolutely. French obviously love to get the Royal Knights out, love to get some control. And Abbasid, we kind of feel if they survive the first wave of Knights and don't take too many damages, maybe 1-2, and get to that second TC setup, they're in a good spot against a heavily cavalry civilization.
Looks like LucifroN is gone for that second scout as well. So LucifroN is going to grab a few more sheep than Viper. Viper still with only 1 scout on the field. What's the keys to the early game for Lipany?
Well, we kind of have to see how you want to build your base if you are the Beastyqt player, right? You can also have a build-up with wheelbarrow if you want to. You can add the second town center eventually. The big question, like, where are we going on stone? Are we going on stone? And where do we want to build the DC stone spot? Relatively far to the front. That's not pretty. Look at that one.
Yeah,
That's the
that's
closest stone.
really far to the front, isn't it?
And the
It's
other
not
one
even
is
in the same screen.
Look at that, and the other one is further to the left there behind the woodline, so really not pretty. You know, exactly, that's the big 3K one, and that's the second one. Ay, not a pretty match design. Oh no, map creation, if you're Abyssal and trying to go
So
for
if
the
you're
second
if you're in this matchup, Abyssal against French, you feel like you need that second TC?
It's just these strengths of Abyssal, right? Your villagers cost half the amount of food after you get fresh foodstuffs. Still quite some investment, but pays off so quickly. And this is kind of how the civilization is designed. You want to have that mass amount of villagers, and otherwise, what do you go for? Maybe something like Camel Archer direction? Doesn't excite me too much.
Yeah, and they're expensive.
Yeah.
They're really expensive.
Yeah, they're obviously great in the sense that cavalry is doing less damage, but you also have great spearmen that can counter cavalry quite nicely. So actually, in this matchup, French are not going for that much Royal Knights. They're trying to go for some archers, maybe even men-at-arms switches there as well. So I think this might actually be more Archer v Archer than you normally would think.
And the gold position, I noticed, I think for LucifroN as well, is pretty safe. Viper's is kind of out there, but I think LucifroN's is at the back as Viper goes for that stone at the front of his base. That is a bit of a risk. He knows the one scout is over here, though, so LucifroN hasn't spotted that yet.
Yeah, but it's so easy to scout, right? It's 2 stone spots around your base. You can, especially if you play 2 scouts, can easily find that one out. Viper now sends more into stone, has to take some risk. And yeah, it feels weird that he has to be out there, but it's necessary.
Viper now advancing to the next age, and of course he's going with the economic wing. The scout from LucifroN still being annoying. Viper can pull the villagers away, but weaken villagers, a risk for later on in the game, especially if knights come along, start charging things, start sniping things, could be problematic. LucifroN also on the way to age 2. He's going for the School of Cavalry, and Viper is sitting on his gold now. LucifroN just sniping the sheep, and Viper says, okay, I see, I will leave, don't worry about it. Actually, he comes back.
I think he might click the sheep away there. No. Okay, stops by. And Viper, you will see him collect 125 gold in the bank, and then probably is trying to pull those villagers away from there. As you can see, now drops off. Look at that. Perfect math.
Yeah, and Viper banking up enough stone. I mean, he's got, what, 5 villagers on stone right now, so he should have a decent timing with that second town center. LucifroN still engaging a little bit on that gold. He's driven Viper away from that, but Viper doesn't really need the gold anymore for the time being, so he will simply focus on getting that second town center up.
Okay, he is 80 stone away. Wood is not looking too pretty. Now goes for fresh foodstuffs. Villages from now on 25 food once that upgrade finishes. And LucifroN again in Dark Age. Really low heart rate. Viper, he feels a bit more pressure apparently.
Yeah, Viper, it's weird that it's like high early in the games. And then I get it in the big fights, but early in the games it seems a little bit strange to me. Maybe he's nervous being down 0-2. It's not a situation he's used to being in for sure.
Yeah. So successful over like the last 8 years in so many tournaments, just an absolute like beast, especially like tournament Viper, something we always talk about in the Age of Empires 2 world. And now 0-2 down in sets, 0-1 down in this set as well. Very untypical.
And the top seed coming into this tournament, right?
Correct. Seed number 1 based on the tournament ELO.
So not expected for him to be in this position for sure. The scout's still harassing the berries a little bit from LucifroN. He knows that Viper will be going for the second TC, and I believe Viper has placed it. Yes, it's right over there on the wood and the gold. That's a good position, and of course connects to his other buildings, so Viper will be working towards the Golden Age. Does he have Golden Age number 1 yet?
I don't think so. We're looking at...
It might be his 10th building there, that TC.
think
No,
it's
he needs
9.
3
7
more.
out of 10.
Okay.
Also, the nice you see here is kind of close to the berries at the left-hand side, as we can see in the corner of the map and on the screen. Professional scouts behind this by LucifroN. So wants to go for all that hunt, knows he will have the map control.
Yeah, LucifroN, even against 2 TCs, LucifroN's TC produces a little bit faster, so he can keep up to a certain extent. It's interesting talking about this matchup because Mista talked all the way through French versus Abbasid, and he said the key with the French, if you're playing from their perspective, is you got to cut off the extra berries. Because the Abbasid transition to farms is going to be slow, and that's like your window to do damage. And if you cut off the extra berries, suddenly he has to drop the farms down and get the food supply to keep those TCs running, even with half villager cost.
Oh, that might be one of the reasons why LucifroN wanted to go for the 2 scouts as well, to keep the sheep amount of the Viper really low and force him into those risky berry spots early on. But as we mentioned, like those berries reasonably close.
Yeah. And they should be more or less within range of that TC. Barracks now for Viper. That's his first production building there. LucifroN just kind of trying to look around with those knights, and that one knight is actually quite weak. So decent job from Viper. I don't think he lost a villager to those. Now he has the advantage. 31 villagers against 29 from LucifroN. Neither player with any eco upgrades as of yet. And Viper starts making those spearmen, and he's just going to keep them at home for the time being. LucifroN needs to do damage here. Viper can wait.
Let's take a look at Viper also building military really late, right? It was like 7 minutes, 20 seconds the first time that we saw spearmen out. Quite greedy, but the knights also guaranteeing themselves map control, but not really finding any damage.
Yeah. And Viper with that second TC placement. Hello, everyone. LucifroN's face has been changing rapidly here. He's a man of many faces, Nilly.
Yeah. Would have been crazy if we had everyone with the pulse there as well. And suddenly, like, dog pulse, caster pulse.
We got to add the dog cam at some point on the player point of view. But we got him back as LucifroN brings in more carcasses. He's going to have a really steady food economy here, so he's not going to have those transition problems that we were speaking about before, and he goes for, I believe that is, he goes for the guild hall.
Yeah.
And 2 barracks over there, and he's building up with so many villagers too.
Guild hall, yeah, to get up as quickly as possible. Man-at-Arms great against Town Center Fire once you get the upgrades there. When it comes to armor, Viper actually goes for more spearmen, won't perform too well, tries to block those professional scouts, but maybe even 2 might make it home. Let's see, you can obviously always drop the carcass, but they are doing quite fine for themselves.
And there's Phalanx coming in, and LucifroN has just been hanging out in these berries. He keeps coming back there. He did pick a villager, but he lost both of the knights there.
Oh, that's a good pickup for the Viper. Let's take a look. Scouts here trying to get home. Phalanx is not finished in time. Do we get another hit? Yep. Viper has to be happy, but might be surprised. 9 minutes, 10-second cartridge timing after the opening with the Royal Knights.
Yep, with 2 knights getting up that fast is really impressive. And with the professional scouts as well. As Viper picks the first villager over there on the berries, and it's 3 barracks for LucifroN. He's going to be heading into Men-at-Arms. What is the counter here for Viper?
I think most of the time you're giving up some map control. Now you drop 4 archer rangers in the back and try to make a crossbow defense happen, because there is a good timing window where LucifroN will do something, and as you can see, archer rangers being dropped.
And Viper's on stone again. Is he thinking about a 3rd town center?
It looks like
it would be
right?
very Viper-esque.
It's just so much. Maybe he tries to go for a keep. That's kind of weird as well for me, though. Maybe he feels okay. French needs to do some damage here, and in all-in with Men-at-Arms is very likely.
And there's the blacksmith for LucifroN, so he's going to begin to get his upgrades here. It said he already had an upgrade there. What was that? Was that a blacksmith?
Blacksmith is now coming in. And LucifroN is getting the attack armor, the attack upgrades, simply because he is French, so benefits from that one for his Men-at-Arms, for his knights as well. But the most important upgrade is the armor against range now.
And there's the Men-at-Arms heading into the berries. Spearman there for Viper, not enough to defend against that. LucifroN all the way over on this right side of the base. Luckily for Viper, most of his economy is over on the left, and Viper now has wheelbarrow and is going up to the next stage.
Yeah, already pretty far there, so Carthage won't be too far away. Now the big question is, Viper, look at his resources. He should get lots of crossbows out. As you can see, 90% to Carthage here, but only 2 archer ranges. Maybe not enough for the production.
Okay, here come the men-at-arms. Still pressuring that side. Viper doesn't really care about those berries anymore. He's still attacking the blacksmith here, but the men-at-arms can easily deal with that. And LucifroN even repairing that behind. He's now going right under the TC. He's not afraid of Viper's defending army because there really is no defending army. It's simply the town centers.
Double town center, some arrows in the air there, and it's only 6 mid-arms, so Viper will have a problem. It's really important that all those crossmen are now spawning at the same time. If they just spawn one by one, they could maybe be taken out. Look at that queue of crossbowmen now, 6 in the queue.
Yeah, and Viper just kind of biding his time. It is 53 villagers against 42, so he's managed to defend himself. I think he's lost, what, maybe 5 villagers?
Something like that. I think the idle time might even cost him more here, but...
Yeah.
Crossbow now out, and once you get like 8 crossbow, men-at-arms won't do too much anymore in those small numbers.
Yeah, and LucifroN invested into, what, 3 barracks? Is it 2 barracks?
Yeah,
3
3
barracks.
barracks
3 barracks, okay.
Yeah.
So he might need to consider a switch at some point. He's losing more men-at-arms. Viper was losing spearmen, so he doesn't really care that much about it. Did lose a couple villagers along the way as well, but now the crossbows up to 5 at the front there, so should be able to defend against these random 1 or 2 units that LucifroN is still sending in. And LucifroN is not really gathering his army. He's sending it 1, 2, 3 at a time and still has the rally point set to Viper's base, trying to get as much damage as possible before that mass comes along. My question is just, what's the switch?
LucifroN is building a second TC right now, so is thinking, okay, maybe some more gold, maybe some more stone, play the long game. Sometimes you can go onto siege. I don't really think he can do too much against the Viper, and as we saw, double stable now. Oh, LucifroN goes full horseman, but they aren't great against phalanx spearmen.
Yeah, and Viper already with that phalanx upgrade, so it's not going to cost them too much to switch back into that line. I think the thing here that I like that LucifroN's done is he's kept Viper off that stone. So if Viper wanted to add that 3rd TC, he's been really delayed from that. He's been in that outpost for so long. And there's 4 villagers garrisoned in that for like the last, what, 2 minutes, 3 minutes constantly. So he's going to ungarrison now, finally get the 300 stone in the bank. And it looks like he's invested his wood into something else, so he still can't even drop it.
Let's see. Maybe I think he just lost the scout. That might be pretty ugly for the Viper. And he needs to see, okay, my opponent is switching into horseman. Needs to get some heads up there. Viper now goes for more economy upgrades. And LucifroN still happy to find more and more deer. Obviously, deer really fast when it comes to gathering the food.
How many carcasses do you think he has under that TC, or he's brought in? I've seen at least like 8.
It has to be more like 16. I think he got full both spots of 7, and now 2 extra ones. It's at least 16.
So the 2 TC, or the second TC that he put up, is going to be easy to produce from with all that extra food that he's brought in. It's still, at some point, he's going to have to transition. We're not at that point yet as Viper goes for more barracks now. So the horseman switch comes in from LucifroN. Viper scouts it. Viper goes for the spearman.
Phalanx again. Viper cancelled Phalanx earlier. Thought about it, but maybe
I
felt
thought
okay.
he got that in. Okay.
Yeah, he clicked it, but it was cancelled apparently. Because he saw, okay, only 2 knights, and after he killed the knights with the TC, no need anymore.
And I believe Viper's thinking about going for the relics as well.
Yeah, pretty Viper-esque thing. Makes lots of sense. Relic spawn, reasonably favoring him. There are 3 close on the left, 1 close to him, and 1 further away. Has to be happy about that.
Viper's heart rate is kind of stabilized around 90 too. It's not peaking anymore. He gets that 2nd, 3rd TC, and suddenly he's in his comfort zone. You know?
Yeah.
He's been there many times before. Crossbow numbers looking good for him as well. 22 military to 10. LucifroN at 61 villagers. Viper at 70. And Viper has the farming upgrade. He's got the wood upgrade, and he's got wheelbarrow. LucifroN with wheelbarrow and the first farming upgrade.
So double stable. Now we have the keep. Technically, you want to build all your stables, all your production around that one to have the reduced cost. Now goes for the first archer range. Maybe archers being mixed in. A really good counter to spearmen and crossbow.
And there's Golden Age tier 2.
Whee.
So Viper's economy is going to be flying here.
And upgrade speed as well. So that's really lovely for him. Goes for some more deer at the top. Men-at-arms trying to maybe raid the gold at the top. Viper.
Did he not go for that 3rd TC?
think he did, right?
Is it over on the right
He
side?
must have lost some stone. Or maybe he sold the
There
stone.
it is.
Yeah,
There it is. And he still has 400 stone in the bank.
Yeah. So maybe another keep? Or a keep in this game.
Another TC?
40C is too crazy on this one. Also, like, he's already on 76, right?
Yeah.
If he adds a 4CC, it's mainly for villager protection, not for villager production.
Yeah, exactly. And we saw him, was that a mangonel that he was building in the forest there? I don't know if that was a mangonel or a ram. I caught it out of the corner of my eye. There it is. A mangonel in the stealth forest. The crossbows are coming forward. The spearmen are coming forward. 43 military for Viper. He added, what, 4 extra barracks? 3 extra barracks? Something like that. Now he's just spamming with this eco. We were talking about the timings, right? LucifroN felt like he needed to do damage because Viper would be on the back foot until his economy clicks in. Now that he's in Golden Age Tier 2, he's got the 3 TCs, he's got 82 villagers behind this and the production buildings. This is his window, and now he's building more siege. He's got a Springald on the way, he's got a Ram on the way. He'll simply defend against these horsemen, and he has the Mangonel at the back. So LucifroN will need to make something happen here. Still only 15 military for LucifroN, 52 military for Viper, and he's got 700 stone in the bank.
And this is where the Abyssite shine, right? You got your triple TC set up, you got your economy, and now you can go mass infantry, build that siege on the field, and Viper's taking advantage out of every bonus he has.
Yeah, and I wonder if LucifroN just goes forward with the army. Usually if you can't fight the army coming into your base, a good defense is good defense is a good offense as well. Distracting, but Viper has so much production back there, and he could just simply counter this army with spearmen. Yeah. So he shouldn't be too concerned about the raid. I see the idea that LucifroN is going for here as he runs the horsemen in. Maybe divide and conquer, distract Viper a little bit. But Viper's got spearmen hanging around his base. He even had some out there on the hunt, so the horsemen aren't going to be able to do anything. Sends a few spearmen in here to the left side of LucifroN's base and continues his push at the right. I believe he has 3 Springalds now, a Ram, a Mangonel, and he's building another Ram with all those crossbows to protect. LucifroN still at 19 military. Viper's sitting at 65, and he's brought in 3 relics too behind all of this.
60 population lead here for our Norwegian, now pressuring that town center. He's just playing so much aggression, and it feels like his heart rate is dropping. He knows this is unlosable for me. Yeah. I know how good my macro is. I'm at 3 TCs. I stopped your raids. I have a beautiful push going for myself.
Yeah. Double Ram attacking that TC with Springalds behind, another Mangonel on the way, and the crossbows are simply sitting under that town center guarding that siege. And look at it, like half of Viper's military is just hanging around his eco because he knows, like, that's the risk factor for him, right? LucifroN coming forward with random armies and picking away and distracting him, but Viper knows he can allocate a good portion of his military to defense. LucifroN now here with some crossbows of his own. He sent the villagers out from the TC, a trail of death leading towards that Mangonel, but not able to take it down, and that is going to be a threat once it is completed there for Viper. Viper now engaging crossbow against crossbow. He's got the Springalds behind. He's got the Rams to take out buildings. I think it's only a matter of time before LucifroN calls this one. And Viper takes game number 2. This set is all tied up.
1-1 in a good matchup for the Viper. And this was completely different. How it played out. Like, Viper felt so confident. Yeah. Such late spearmen there. That really showed you, like, I know exactly the timing with all those Royal Knights that are coming over, and I can squeeze a TC in. It
felt like LucifroN was banking on doing more damage with those men-at-arms than he actually did. Like, he went up to the 3rd age really quickly.
Second armor upgrade was too late.
Yeah.
TC does 1 damage if you get the 2nd armor upgrade, and then they're so annoying. Then you can just camp next to the archery ranges, and in Age of Empires 4, those units are forced to pop out of the archery ranges. Yep. So they are suddenly exposed, and the men-at-arms, sometimes you can win a game before the opponent can really mess up. Armor late, TC do more damage, numbers dwindled, crossbow numbers rose, and then Viper in full control.
Also, you have to question, like, the Horseman switch. Did the Horseman accomplish anything there, really?
Against the Spearman set. Also, like, Horseman didn't really dive to raids, so not really. But what were his options, honestly? Yeah. He could go for archers, but then if you mass up archers, good luck trying to fight Mangonauts.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe the Horsemen were just there to pick off any siege that Viper was careless with, but Viper kept the crossbows near his siege. He kept the spearmen near his siege, and he kept the spearmen at home too, so the counter raids couldn't do anything. So we go into game number 3. It will be Hill and Dale here, one of LucifroN's home maps, and LucifroN still has a bunch of civilizations available to him. Are we likely to see Holy Roman Empire here?
Holy Roman Empire is strong civilization. Remember LucifroN, the best game of the qualifier. He played English against the Holy Roman Empire on Hill and Dale.
Against Capoch.
That was crazy.
Nuts.
That was the best game. Holy moly. And so he can play something different. Also, if I remember correctly, Viper played HRE against DeMusliM and lost the mirror matchup there. So maybe
that was him going for, I think he went one stable and then Spearman, and DeMusliM went double stable in that matchup.
Yeah, exactly.
Kept all the pressure there. Also, we talked about that matchup afterwards. DeMuslim's like, that's the best map I've ever seen. For Hill and Dale. He had like the deer right beside the berries. He had everything within range of his chapel. It was just, it was perfect for him, and that's why he had such a competitive uptime, right?
Yeah, that was crazy. What was it? Like berries, deer, gold, and wood.
Yeah.
Plus the TC.
Yeah.
All in the range of one chapel. It's like the dream.
And Viper
map
didn't even have a bad map there. It was just the map for DeMusliM was like perfect, he said.
Yeah. And then Viper maybe a bit on the underproducing side of military. So maybe if it goes for an HRE mirror again, he might be more aggressive. He might open double stable himself. It's kind of where the meta is shifting in. Initially, we were like all about who gets castle first, but realized prelates on their own can't really get relics home.
So English played in the first match in the mirror. You mentioned he went English against Capoch's HRE. So that's off the table. Is he a big mirror match kind of guy? Does he like to play in those settings, or does he like to shift it up against his opponents?
Yeah. If we take the set against VortiX as an indicator, he tries to outsmart, he tries to play creative civilizations on maps, so maybe we see something. I've honestly seen Rus play it pretty weirdly and interesting. Obviously China, with their still very strong late game, are an option. Beastyqt, extra town center, are also an option on Hill and Dale. I still feel with HRE, you know exactly what you get.
Yeah, you can't, I feel like you can't play that eco approach if your opponent's going to go HRE. Because you're not going to have the pressure on the map, and the relics are going to come in, and then it's like a ticking time bomb until your destruction.
Thing is, though, you can get Spearman out, right? We saw the Viper on the greedy side was 720.
Yeah.
Maybe you open, with Beastyqt on this map, you might open barracks first, and then go into the second town center. So you can contest this area, maybe send a villager forward, try to wall your opponent in, and then HRE is forced to also play Feudal Age, and that delays the relics again.
Yeah. As we see the screen once again, Viper not able to pick English or Beastyqt, LucifroN or Delhi for that matter, LucifroN not able to pick English, Delhi, and French. So what civ here would, if you go Rus on this map, you mentioned that before, is this like go forward and try and wall in your opponent?
It just feels like you're hoping to go into an even imp game.
Okay.
Then with the extra range on your siege, you try to make something happen. You're not relying that much onto gold, because you can go for 40, 50 horse archers, and they are only food and wood. Also, you get some extra gold, but, well, let's see. Those are the players next to each other. Those beautiful golden backforce chairs.
I like this view.
We will actually raffle them away for a good cause.
Oh.
And HRE mirror.
What's the good cause? Millie's bank account.
Oh, good cause for me. We will have them to prevent deforestation.
Oh, perfect.
In Germany. Yep.
Yeah.
We will have both of those chairs on eBay on Sunday and the next Sunday.
Okay. So make sure you bet on those if you want to have a chair that the pros have sat in.
And signed. All the players and casters will sign it.
Oh, I get to sign it too?
You got to sign it.
You get a chair with my signature on it.
Nice.
Yeah.
For a good cause.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, game number 3 here, and we see a Holy Roman Empire mirror matchup, and Grubby was talking about this. He was talking about the tiers, right? The first tier, you go with that first stable. The second tier of HRE mirror, you go for the second stable. And his third tier of HRE mirror was the third stable. Unfortunately, we didn't see that, but he was very excited about the possibility.
Okay. Okay. Well, obviously, HRE mirror, as you know, this is so prominent on this map simply because you try to get those relics. They are always spawning relatively in the center, as we can see. 4 up for grabs there at the top. A bit closer to LucifroN, to the Viper there.
Viper,
but
yeah.
the others are more to the entrance.
LucifroN's got 1 free, though. That one at the
free?
base, it's...
But then this one at the top is free.
Yeah, true. Yep.
So maybe 1 free for each player and 3 really competitive ones in the center?
Yeah, and the way that one's set up, like, I think that one in the south is kind of, like, technically closer to Viper, with but the way the cliffs are blocking it, it's going to be awkward for both players to grab.
Where do we send the prelate? The right-hand side around the cliff for that bottom?
I think you
through the center.
have to get that safe one in first. It's just so much income, right?
As you all know, 300 gold per minute per relic for the HRE, and that's why it's such a big story. The big question, though, how are we opening this one, and how do we build our potential Aachen chapels? You already see really good spot here for LucifroN. Will include gold, wood, and the sheep.
Also, his heart rate never gets above like 75.
He's such a chill dude.
Oh my god! And Viper, a guy that we would, if you would have asked me, I would say Viper would be in that situation.
Yeah.
Like he seems so chill, but maybe inside, maybe he's been hiding it from us all of these years.
Viper, second prelate. Do we see the Aachen chapel? What? He's building the Aachen chapel next to...
Near the deer, the TC, the berries, and the wood line there. Does he have a lumber camp? He doesn't have a lumber camp yet.
No. He has the lumber camp at the top.
He?
He simply is going for the second prelate, which actually
there it is.
Isn't like most of people think. Yeah, oh god, he is already investing into 100 gold. This will be bad. But you're including everything, and you want to go for at least 3 prelates when you arrive Castle Age anyways. So it's an earlier investment, but this way he will have lots and lots of food income. For example, doesn't need to invest into something crazy like professional scouts.
And he had a while to think about this matchup too. Like he had a good conversation with DeMusliM about the back and forth on this map with this matchup, which DeMusliM has a lot of experience with. So maybe he's come up with a different answer than his first game on this in the tournament as he goes for a lumber camp under the chapel there. Chapel is here for LucifroN. That does not include the deer or the berries.
It feels like Viper and DeMusliM are getting really good friends. They're sitting next to each other in the practice area, discussing so much, enjoying their time together. Really lovely to see.
We're all becoming friends here, Nilly.
Yeah. I'm starting to like you.
One day, I'll have, sleepover at your place. It's going to be great. I'll have my mom call your mom. They can set it up.
We all add each other on Facebook.
Yeah.
Going to be crazy good.
All right, so the deer are there as well if Viper wants to take them under the influence of the chapel.
Do I want to see your mother in a pajama party, though?
No, she wouldn't be there. They're just setting it up. They have to call each other for... You didn't do that as a kid? Where your mom would call someone else's mom to set up, like, a play date?
Nice.
I have your mom's number anyway, so... It's fine. Barracks over there now from LucifroN in the south. You're weirdly quiet now.
It hurts. Mommy, I love you. I hope Dave was nice to you.
And Viper goes on to those deer now, so he needs a little bit of extra food income. We're looking at the resources in the bank here. LucifroN with 400 food, 300 gold. Viper with similar amounts on gold, but less food. But, of course, he's going to the deer now, so he should be able to even that up quite quickly.
Still quite some sheep under the town center. Big question, like, do you want to pull the villagers away there? Spearman production is starting now for LucifroN, so was a bit scared. And now the big question is, like, who gets to Castle Age faster, and how much army are you getting out? It feels like both playing relatively greedy. 2 Spearmen. Viper, even without the barracks, maybe he scouted. Okay, you didn't open with the stable.
It's so interesting here because, I keep coming back to, I talked to DeMusliM about this matchup, and he said, like, he's played it so many times, and he finds that if he goes for horseman pressure, and he's hanging out at their base, he's causing all sorts of idle time. He can always get up first above his opponent, right? Because he's pressuring them, he's dictating all the fights, everything that's happening. And Viper may be scouting that barracks early. He knows that it's going to take a long time for those spearmen to get across, so he can get away with a little bit of greed.
Yeah, look at that Spearman upgrade even. So Viper, beautiful scout that knows exactly, okay, you're on berries, you just started your deer, you can't be up that quickly. And the question mark, the big question, what is Viper going for? Because only prelates, you should not really get the relics, and the answer is stable. Next question, will he build like 1-2 horsemen trying to die relics, or is it just waiting for Castle Age and then adding knights?
He might build them on the way up, on the transition period.
But then you might arrive in Castle Age without any food, because most of the food villagers are actually building the Aachen Chapel, the Regnitz Cathedral.
I guess it's which villagers he pulls as well. I mean, his food income looks pretty good right now, 700 a minute, and he's already working on the cathedral, and he's still got villagers on the food there.
Okay, okay. Let's talk again in 30 seconds, Dave.
Okay.
When the food will drop around 300 per minute.
Okay.
Well,
I'll allow it. And LucifroN down to 48 heart rate?
What?
Surely that's not correct. Surely
Grubby said an ambulance over there? Is he fine? Is he fine? Okay, at least we get the webcam. It's dropping even further, like rating here.
I think he might have bumped his watch a little bit or something. Maybe it's coming loose on his wrist.
Only counting every second beat.
So Viper does have cavalry now in production, and he is going to reach the next stage.
Food income below 300, Dave, there for a second.
Okay. This is why you're here, Nil.
To be annoying.
No one likes that guy. But you know what? Someone has to play that role, Nilly.
Yeah, I wasn't casting anymore. I was only looking at food income after I made that statement.
All right, so it's double stable for Viper here. He's only got 1 unit in production currently as he catches the Spearman coming across, and he's got the Prelate coming out right away, and he goes for that Relic in the middle. There is the free Relic that we were talking about to the north there. He heals up his Horseman a little bit. He's going to go back with the Prelate so he doesn't feel like he can grab that Relic and get away safely. And he's getting greedy, and he's going for the one over there at the top, and so is LucifroN, sending the Prelate all the way to the Relic at the top of Viper's base.
Oh, will be tricky. Still not Castle Age, though. LucifoN here building his Regnitz Cathedral. Now some healing on that knight. Needs to micro back, though. Can't fight against 3 spearmen here. Oh, finds the kill, though.
Yeah, he got the kill in the middle, and now he's going to get this kill. And I'm just wondering how the knight attack, the spearman attack, the healing from the Prelate, numbers all over the place in my head, how it matches up here. And Viper's just going to pull it back a little bit. He'll head back out, take out that spearman, and grab the Relic. LucifroN guarding the Relic in the north and was also hanging around another one as Viper brings back that Relic that was in the northwest. So Viper's going to have 2 on the way back. LucifroN will have 3 on the way back.
One further away. Maybe Viper still finds the kill. There's obviously one Prelate relatively exposed still. This
is what I like to call the leapfrog Wallalow technique. So he's going to Wallalow with the first one. He always has the option to Wallalow with the second one too.
Okay, I think those 2 will make it home. Now the main story is a bit more in the center. Exactly. This one is the Prelate that will matter. Will that one make it home? Will that one make the touchdown happen? Some Prelates around, and it feels like Viper 2v3 Relics again.
And he's going to pull these spearmen into his town center. I wonder if LucifroN notices that. Yeah, he pulls them back, so gets a little bit of damage there. 1 Relic already in the cathedral. The second one's on the way. Viper obviously with 2 there, but LucifroN with the advantage, even though Viper was in the next stage first.
Yeah, but didn't have the army prepared, right? And that's maybe you could have gone for a barrack spearman mix. Maybe 2 man-at-arms could have been squeezed in to deal with those spearmen. Some options, but Viper also not super greedy there. Went for 2 safe ones.
So if you're in Viper's position, how much pressure do you feel about that extra Relic?
Oof. As we all know, 7.5 villagers worth of unupgraded villagers on gold. So you know the late game not going to be too pretty for you. Opponent already walled. I feel like I can't really do damage. I would feel lots of pressure and would be like, oh god, the casters will start to trash talk me soon.
Yeah, I love this, that LucifroN, as soon as he gets those relics, just immediate walls. Just wants to stay safe behind this.
So clever.
And Viper going for walls in the north side there, and Viper going for increased production. So he's adding in a barracks here in addition to his other stables. The Spearman from LucifroN now on the woodline from Viper, and that's a great pick there from LucifroN. He's going to pull away, so is Viper. Viper killing the scout as well, and LucifroN still providing a little bit of pressure, giving himself enough time to get those walls up.
LucifroN ahead in all regards. More military, another relic, villager lead, map control looking pretty good, is fully walled. Viper doesn't really have a single advantage.
Spearman looping around once again. That knight's got to be careful. At the back there, there's also a few weak villagers. LucifroN will see that weak villager, and LucifroN takes him out. So Great villager picks there from LucifroN. Every little difference matters, especially when you have that relic advantage. So you're saying it's 7 villagers. He's 3 villagers ahead right now, plus he has wheelbarrow, so the economy for LucifroN is much better.
Yeah, absolutely. And Viper, I think he needs to make something happen. Has to get him first. It has to be the printer. It has to be Palace of Swabia. Kind of the only comeback mechanic here that I could see, that he maybe outproduces LucifroN so much in villager count that he can even out the field.
But LucifroN is safe. Is he not thinking something similar?
Yeah, but maybe Viper gets a better timing there. Maybe LucifroN thinks, okay, you're likely to go all in. I saw a lot of knights from you. And maybe overproduces some army at home.
Look at the resources.
He's
1,500. LucifroN just bought himself some food there with the gold that he had in the bank. Viper has 1,700 food, 1,700 gold. LucifroN has 1,800 food, 1,400 gold in the bank. Both of these players thinking about going for the Palace of Swabia, getting the printer rolling. And there it is for LucifroN at the front. It's going to be right in on that wood line. And Viper places his over on the gold. So this is coming down to military fights in the late game. Viper with the worst economy.
And something we didn't really address yet that I just see on the minimap. Look at the wood lines. 2 at the bottom there for LucifroN. Viper,
only one at the
single
top.
one at the top. So he needs to fight for the bottom there.
Yeah.
It's really important. Obviously, you spawn with 2 wood lines on your plateau, but that will actually be maybe more important than the gold control.
Well, I mean, the income from the relics is just insane. Even if you only have 2 in Viper's position, right? You're not really thinking about the gold spot control at the moment. So wood, like you said, probably more important in this matchup. Viper, though, still with 2 wood lines at home, still with that option in the north. And the military count's more or less even still. LucifroN 4 villagers ahead, has wheelbarrow, and obviously has an extra relic and gets to the Imperial Age faster than Viper.
And now Palace of Swabia, the 4th of the production cost, the 4th of the production time. As you can see, just presses those out. Viper will do the same pretty soon as well, so villager numbers will rise quite a bit. Right now, neither player really wants to go for some aggression. I think this is building up your army and only then going for, or building up your economy and only then going for military. But as you already can see, LucifroN, he's going for the counter to cavalry, but Viper is going infantry himself. Viper might get into the better army composition.
Yeah, lots of spearmen there from LucifroN, and Viper
Landsknecht, elite
is going
Landsknecht.
Grubby, and I was trying to figure out how to say it. I can't quite get the finishing move on that name, but I'll try for you, chat, as Viper makes his way into the Landsknecht.
Don't break your tongue, my friend. And goes for the production there, and that's actually not going to be too good for LucifroN. I think, well, he will go for some aggression, sees, okay, I can't do much here, and then just retreats, has to switch up his military route. Maybe goes for some men-at-arms himself, and yeah, has to retreat. Knights just trying to debate a bit. 1 knight lost, though.
I love the way they swing their swords. Like, no regard for their friends around them.
So pretty.
It's just like a complete 360. It's like they have a lightsaber.
Let's zoom in a bit. I want to see the animation. And also like small jumps as well.
I love when the spearmen leap and stab someone, like fight or Hidden Tiger, Crouching Dragon. I can't even remember the name. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
And now they're chasing with their swords. Look at that. I would be scared if I'm a spearman as well.
I'd be scared if I was the ally of one of these guys.
True.
Like, you need to give him a 6-foot radius. Like, you can't come near him in the middle of a battle. It just doesn't work.
Okay, Viper now dropping some more blacksmith there at the top. Tries to catch up in upgrades. And now we can see elite men-at-arms on the way here for
God, that villager
Viper.
count is so ridiculous once you get that thing up.
Yeah.
It just climbs so fast. Like, I think when they reached Imperial Age, they were at 38 villagers or something like that. And now suddenly we're at 66 for Viper, 68 for LucifroN. It always catches me off guard. Viper now capturing the first sacred site, and he's pressuring a little bit at the bottom with the cavalry. LucifroN probably doesn't want to let these in because Viper could be pretty annoying with the mobility at the back.
Mangonels now being added by LucifroN. Obviously, Landsknecht, crazy in damage output, but not the highest of HPs. So Mangonels actually pretty good against them. 95 only.
So what's the ideal composition in this mirror matchup. How much are you investing into siege? How much are you investing into units in front?
I think like 60 infantry units and have some siege behind this one. Maybe some bombards, some mangonels are the right units. Siege control is so important in the mid to late imp here.
Yeah. Second sacred site on the way for Viper, so he's trying to even out that gold income a little bit due to the relic disparity. We can see 900 a minute flat from LucifroN, so he doesn't have any extra villagers on gold. Vipers is a little bit more dynamic here with these sacred sites involved. As Viper goes for more production buildings, he's getting ready to spam. He's got 79 villagers. LucifroN also, okay, we're evened up at 80 villagers here, but LucifroN with the farming upgrade, the wood upgrade, the mining upgrade, and Viper only with the first farm upgrade.
As we can see, double stable, not important, but 4 barracks and 5 archery ranges. So the Viper will go for reasonable numbers of hand cannoneers here. Now tries to go for elite man-at-arms again. I think something that he cancelled again. So tries to stay on his toes when it comes to composition. Landsknecht Mangonel on the other side. I think Viper needs some siege with this.
Yeah, maybe he is just trying to get the timings correct, right? He knows it's going to take time for LucifroN to come across the field with his siege, and he's trying to invest in the upgrades first. We see a Mangonel coming out now from Viper, and there's the hand cannons.
Oh yeah, quite some numbers on the field already. Obviously nice against the infantry, but Mangonel's becoming really good. Look at that, protecting the hill here, protecting the entrance. Viper wants to play the late game, but that's still pretty rough. Military-wise, 20 to 51, Dave.
It feels like it's going to be a difficult area for... Now, this is weird. It's a difficult area for LucifroN to push up, but it's also a difficult area for Viper to defend there at the front, because the pathing from the production buildings, the way he set it up, the units are going to be bumping against so many things.
Yeah, it's very tight area there for sure. Viper goes for more production. Now has his first Mangonel out as well, and you don't really want to move into that one, and that's why we see LucifroN wisely retreating.
Viper coming in with the cavalry, not able to connect with that Mangonel. He was maybe trying to take out that prelate in the middle, capturing the sacred site, but he loses 2 knights because of it. Now the Mangonels are on the way. Viper does know that that army is coming, and Viper now going for, what is that, the stacked keep right there?
Well, it was one keep planned by LucifoN, but Viper already said, okay, well, that's a really good spot. Now the Mangonel shots are coming in. Viper with the hand cannoneers in the back needs to dodge the Mangonel shots.
Also has the Springald there attacking the Mangonel, but the Springald gets absolutely destroyed. Mangonel also destroyed. Hand cannons in the back doing work. Viper going in with the infantry. He's going to be able to take out both Mangonels from LucifroN. The keep is still not complete from Viper, but now he has a Mangonel behind that LucifroN cannot take. And like I said before, this is going to be a difficult area for LucifroN to push up with, but LucifroN is going for a keep against the keep foundation from Viper. And it looks like he's going to be able to complete that. Where are the villagers from Viper?
He's not really standing anymore. That's so weird. Also more HP upgrade there coming in for LucifroN. He is ahead by 40 population. Keep has to be cancelled. LucifroN in a perfect position.
Where were the villagers? He had some to begin with, but it feels like that's a situation where you need to pull them. But LucifroN gets the keep up at the end of the day, and LucifroN continues to push forward. He's got a culverin now to take care of the siege from Viper, and he goes over to that stone. So he's going to keep the villagers forward, going to maybe think about another keep once he solidifies a position on this hill.
Wants to go for the kill against the Mangonels, but thinks better of it because the culverin is scaring him away. Not an easy situation for the Viper to maneuver. More than 40 population behind here.
24 military for Viper, 60 military for LucifroN, and LucifroN still climbing with the villager advantage too. It looks so much better for the Spaniard in this position. He's going to be able to take out the houses from Viper. He's going to be able to take out some of the military production buildings, which means Viper needs to fall further and further back into his base. Viper will need to build up a huge army to take back this position. I don't think he can.
Well, he needs at least 60 units to deal with that, right? Mangonels obviously becoming more efficient. Look at how clumped up Viper's army is. Oh, that's not really a fight he wants to take. Double cavalry in back, obviously not doing too much damage, but can obviously fall back on to the range of the keep.
Yeah, the positioning of those production buildings. Like, it's great to have them forward. You can get the units out onto the field, but if you ever lose the spot, it's going to be really, really tough if he pushes up to the top here. But saying that, like I said before, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because LucifroN pushes up there, and because of those production buildings being so close, now it's hard for him to continue pushing. So frustrating maybe for both players as LucifroN falls back to that keep. Viper trying to keep his cannons alive. He's going to pull them back from the infantry, but the Mangonels have stayed in here from LucifroN, and Viper calls it. He knows this position is just not tenable.
Wow. And I'm not sure how big the relic was there. It was just such a clean play, and LucifroN got to the mass infantry, and Viper opened Landsknecht, and then he went into hand cannoneers. But those hand cannoneers, once the infantry dies, kind of useless.
Yep. Yeah, Viper maybe asking some questions. That's a second mirror match on Hill and Dale he's lost with HRE in this tournament. And it was definitely a different approach. He played the greedier approach. He went up to H3 faster. And he just...
military. Without the spearmen.
Yeah.
And that's what I tried to say early on, right? Those prelates alone won't get the relics home. They can maybe collect them and get them a bit closer, but eventually you will die to the horsemen, you will die to the spearmen. And Viper, a bit greedy.
Also, he only had 2 prelates at the beginning of Castle Age. LucifroN had 3. LucifroN was waiting there with three prelates. He picked up the relics right away as soon as he got to H3 and started running back to his base. And Viper had the one going to the northwest and then the one in the middle. Didn't have that third one.
For Viper fans, obviously
It's
tough to see.
Yeah.
Tough to see. But LucifroN playing really well. And that was like how strategically maneuvered after, like, I got 3 relics. I will still get raids in with my spearmen. I will get the walls up as well. And he just did all the right steps. Then the spearman army that poked completely lost that one, but then went into the right army composition and just rolled the Viper.
Yeah. And no opportunity whatsoever for Viper to do counter damage. Like, normally we talk about transition periods, right? Like, oh, there's a window open here for Viper to do damage when LucifroN's on the way to H4. No, that's like a 2-minute window. And that's like the time it takes for you to cross the map with your military. There's no potential for an all-in there when the guy has 3 relics.
Yeah. Also, like, behind walls, and they can just continue to build army as well, right? And they will produce better, so you have to take some risk. Viper tried to go fast imp, but LucifroN just went fast imp as well. Beautiful, beautiful play. And the Viper now needs to win 2 in a row if he doesn't want to go down 0-3 in sets.
Yeah, and it looks like game 4 is going to be Dry Arabia. Viper still with Chinese, Mongols, Rus, and French available. I would suspect maybe the French pick here. He didn't seem too confident with Mongols.
We have High View as well. A bit of a question, like, what do you want against potential Rus? It's likely that the opponent, like, LucifroN still has Mongols, right? So maybe if you're a Viper, you're kind of trying to force a Mongol mirror to not run into your civilization against Mongols.
Maybe. But maybe he feels comfortable against them.
How can he feel comfortable against Mongols?
Look at the results this tournament.
True. Yeah, Mongols may be overrated. Certainly.
It feels like if that initial outpost push gets denied early enough, the follow-up from them just isn't there a lot of the times, at least here anyway, at N4C.
People got so good at defending those, for sure. Yeah. Economy is a bit worse. And Mongols also struggled on Mongolian Heights, if you remember. I still think Viper, it's safer to try to force a Mongol mirror matchup and then go into French versus X. Maybe French against Abbasid. Doesn't excite me too much, though.
Yeah. We saw Viper having success with that matchup, right? As long as you get yourself in a good position with Abbasid, with the 2 TCs, you can weather the storm. You only lose 4 or 5 villagers. You're looking to be in a really good position.
Oh, and we indeed have the mirror matchup. I think this is good for the Viper. If we at least think about game number 4, game number 5, a big question, if we even get to that one. LucifroN on the verge of getting his first series win.
Yeah, and it looks like Viper has gone for a scout there. LucifroN still just running around with his con, so Viper is going to get a little bit extra scouting at the beginning of the game, trying to pull in those sheep. And how do you play the Mongol mirror?
Big question. You have to scout quite a bit, and you have to see, okay, is my opponent going for the barracks? I see tower rushing. Obviously, tower rushing not that great. Maybe better against other civilizations. Viper opens early pasture. I think there's an overcompensation.
No, that's LucifroN, is it not?
That is LucifroN. Let me quickly see. Viper
I
open.
believe it was LucifroN opening early
Oh,
pasture.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, then I think I just gave the production the wrong cue then. LucifroN has one. Okay, okay. No, it was correct. It was correct. Just nearly confused. And overlay guy is like, I knew all along.
So what's the advantage of opening with that? It seems like
The early pasture, well, you're guaranteed to have food, right?
Yeah.
Also, pasture produces faster next to the ovu, so
but
it's just
it
such a
seems
nice
like you
long
could go into
long
a
setup.
second scout as well and get the early sheep.
Well, it's not guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
The pasture is guaranteed, and it's working for a very long time.
Yeah, true. Early investment.
Plus, if you go for a second scout, that also means you have one less villager, because it's blocking TC time.
Yeah. And we can see that reflected here. LucifroN with 12 villagers. Viper with 11 villagers. LucifroN has 4 sheep trailing his con there as he manages to shoot the wolf from behind his back. I love this con animation, man. I love this unit in general.
Parthian tactics. It feels a bit too strong, but
does.
I really like the design
The
behind it.
idea of it is great.
Like the hero unit that helps out your whole army also like feels a lot into the identity. I like it quite a bit.
Viper with the early pasture as well. Okay.
Barracks now by LucifroN. Quite interesting. The question now, do we go for spearmen and how many? Okay, goes for at least 4 spearmen. And Viper, he has his ovo relatively exposed, so needs to go into some production. Oh,
2 more
greedy
pastures.
Viper.
Did he see the pasture from LucifroN and he felt like he could play safe?
Yeah, goes for another one, goes for the gold there. He has scouted early on. Obviously, we sadly can't really know if he scouted the barracks there. Quite unlikely, otherwise he would go for the barracks himself. And Viper, that's a really vulnerable spot for him next to his ovo.
Yeah, and what does he do if those spearmen show up there at that location?
You need your Khan there, and look at that one. The Khan already basically pushing the scout away, denying the scouting intel. Beautiful move by LucifroN.
LucifroN, by the way, going down into the high 40s in heart rate once again. Viper staying up there, double the heart rate almost now, bridging that 100
Viper
mark.
gets the intel.
And Viper gets more intel. He's going to see the 2 more spears. I wonder if he thinks that's the first 2 spearmen coming out, or if he suspects that there's 4 more.
It's just so late of a timing, right?
Yeah.
So it has to be more early on. He also knows how early the over was, so production is really cheap. I think the Viper needs to desperately get 100 wood to get a tower up next to his ovo.
I did notice, though, he saw the spearmen and his heart rate went down.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's telling us something there.
He's like, okay.
There's an outpost there now on the gold, and that's going to be near the Uvu as well. But the spearmen are coming in here. 4 villagers building that outpost. Viper also has the scout there. He's sending more villagers to commit to that outpost. Pulls back the weak one. He really wants that thing up, and he's invested so much time. I think he has to stay near here, get some good hits on the spearmen with the town center, and is able to keep his gold safe for the time being. And the Bitey infantry even helping out there as the wolf chases the spearmen away from LucifroN. LucifroN with 2 more across the field. Viper brings in those sheep that he gathered earlier. And LucifroN can now comfortably attack the Uvu from the other side.
If it wasn't for the Khan shooting over there, and that was a pretty good attempt by LucifroN, but didn't really do the damage that he was looking for. Still does quite some damage against the Ovo, maybe some repair there. And still a very competitive fuel age timing behind this.
Yeah, great build there from LucifroN. Really, really great stuff.
And look at Viper, 300 food. He's not up yet. LucifroN will have more military, more map control, and the earlier fuel age timing.
How?
The only advantage that Viper has is the second pasture.
Maybe Viper is spending a little bit too much time out near that gold, building that outpost. I mean, he didn't have the food income. He's now going up to age 2 as we see him spend that food, and there's the deer stones right there. LucifroN, though, will have an advantage in the timing. LucifroN has to be careful not to lose these spearmen. He's trying to bait the Khan in, but Viper's always going to be paying attention to that. Viper is now repairing the Uvu. This is idle time. This is distractions that LucifroN is causing. He hasn't picked a villager yet, but he has the momentum, and he's dictating the game right now.
Spearmen really low there, won't really find too much more in the long run, won't really help out in the battles. Maybe something for scouting, maybe to push them around at different areas. Viper needs to pull that villager. Spearmen coming in again. And Viper should find some kills potentially. The big question is, what are we going for afterwards? LucifroN, not a lot of wood here. That's a bit surprising. Goes for another pasture. Interesting approaches. But yeah, Viper picked lots of them. I think Viper has way more sheep on his town center.
Yep, but the first villager of the game goes down to the Khan, so Viper will be -1 villager here, and actually -2 villagers because he went with that scout first at the opening. So LucifroN with a slight eco advantage, but look at all those sheep.
Crazy.
Viper's got a herd underneath there, and of course he's had these 3 pastures working. Was it 3 or was it 2?
It's 2 and 1 Gur here.
Okay.
For the gold. And yeah, now the defense pretty solid in that regard. Viper now goes for wheelbarrow. What a greedy approach out of him again. I'm a bit surprised not going for any military, and we see arrow slits. Now by the Viper wants to fortify this area.
Yeah. And that tower is in a pretty good position there on the gold. Unfortunately, can't really range the units attacking the Uber from the other side, but now he can, and he's going to be able to push those away. So good investment there from Viper, as we see the calculated greed coming in once again from him. We'll see if it pays off, though, because it seemed to be hurting him earlier in this tournament.
Both players going for castle age. Look at that. Going for gold, going for food. LucifroN looking really good. Can lost. Ooh. Kind of sloppy from LucifroN.
Yeah, and the heart rate is going up to 85 now. Maybe he doesn't like that.
Shocker!
LucifroN maybe feeling the pressure a little bit here in game number 4 as Viper comes in with his Khan that is still alive, and Viper is going to spot the other pastures and just simply snipe that sheep and says, if you want this food, you're going to have to walk all the way out for this.
I have to question the Viper. Look at the eco upgrade that she's going for. Food upgrade, wheelbarrow as well. Instead of trying to go to Castle Age, that will be the better timing for LucifroN. He will be able to pressure. And honestly, against the first Lances, if you don't have any army, this one looks really good for LucifroN.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good spot to sit your Khan if you're Viper. You can be pretty annoying over there. The outposts cannot range you. The Spearmen are forced to come back here from LucifroN. The Spearmen are still weak from before, though, and they... Were they attacking the...
They did some dancing.
Okay. Interpretive dance.
A bit capoeira.
As Viper kills one Spearman, and he's going to hit and run this other one. Be very annoying with that Khan. Still, a huge lack of military production for both players as we see the step readout there. So LucifroN is on the way to H3. Viper's still building up resources, takes out another Spearman.
And Viper heard me. He cancelled the food upgrade to get up to Castle Age a bit earlier.
And it's a competitive time.
Absolutely.
It's right after LucifroN. And look at the place for that step readout. I think it's in between the 2 golds.
Perfect. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Maybe needs to pre-position one tile later on. Now the big question, what army are we going for? It feels like triple stable makes sense. And now compare the stone count. Simply because we went for so many spearmen, Viper ahead by 300 stone.
Oh my goodness.
It's a lot of knights.
And remember, with the recent fix, you get more stone as Mongols from your Uvu as soon as you get to Castle Age.
Absolutely correct, yeah. So that will fly in even more. Stable number 1, and then it gets ugly with all the raids. Viper already has a tower next to his gold as well. On the other side, LucifroN might struggle a bit more against the raids.
So LucifroN with the early pressure with the Spearman, he forced out some repairs. He obviously forced the early outpost. Khan, will it go down? It has to, right? Yep. Khan dies for Viper, so it's going to be a while before he has a replacement leader here. But LucifroN had the early pressure. He forced the outpost, he forced some repairs, and he killed one villager. And then they get up at a similar time. Viper with wheelbarrow of his own. LucifroN just now getting that. And do you think it was worth it from LucifroN? Did he do more damage? Did Viper's greed pay off?
I think it's actually pretty even game still. Obviously losing the Khan there is a big, big loss. Look at all those sheep. So Viper is set up quite reasonably well for the long run, which is surprising that LucifroN is going for the full production of men-at-arms plus siege engineers. So we are expecting men-at-arms, maybe some spearmen, plus some siege. And look at that, improved siege engineering here. So could go for another kind of Avacid push there with Springolds and Mangonels.
Yeah, Khan being so annoying there near the wood line. Viper getting some damage on him, so weakening him a little bit, but still LucifroN will be careful not to lose that. Viper's Khan still on the way, and here we are, Viper with some cavalry looping around to the side. He's going to try and pick away at LucifroN's eco. I think he knows where the step readout is from LucifroN, so maybe he wants to loop around to that side. There is an outpost, if I remember correctly, on LucifroN's gold. So there are places for him to hide.
Crossman, we already saw that in the Abbasid versus French game. Pretty good in defending early man-at-arms. Will we actually get into the scenario though? Now some towers here obviously gives you some of that aura to move a bit faster, gives you some map control in those stealth forests. Quite some good options. Crossman now scaring away the Khan, but obviously damage output isn't crazy. Now the first Lancers are coming in.
Yep, and the Lancers come into the gold. It was indeed under the step readout. 5 villagers can hide in that tower, but there's not a second one there. I love what Viper did on his side. He added that second outpost to give him another place to hide, and I think if we go back to the I believe it was Leenock playing Mongols yesterday. You know, he constantly got rated on his golds, and he wasn't adding those extra outposts. So it was like his economy kept getting picked away, you know? You always have to have some place for your villagers to hide if you're playing against an enemy with a mobile unit like a Lancer.
LucifroN now goes for the Springleton placement at that gold, though. Mangonel, I thought it had a chance there to do some damage against the woodline. Decides to retreat. A bit of a surprise to me. Pick off here against the villager. Viper misclick bond. Oh, finds a kill against the spearman. Oh, now that one should survive.
Yeah, he doesn't want to lose that con once again, especially since he just got that thing back. The Mangonel not being very aggressive, and Viper spotted that Mangonel, I believe, right? So he's going to loop around and try and pick that off. The villager was also fairly weak there. He gets a couple good hits on the spearman, but now Springleton placement on
in
the
the
tower.
center. I thought it was at the gold. Might have felt like, okay, that's a likely raid spot, but apparently in the center, quite some damage output. I don't mind that at all. Second stable by the Viper. I think he went for improved siege engineering as well. I think maybe 1-2 Springles could really help out with the defense.
Yeah, blacksmith upgrades now coming in from Viper. He's getting the Pierce armor. He already has the farming eco upgrade. No, LucifroN. Okay.
Yeah, advantage there. Now goes for some more spearmen, so wants to deal with those lancers. Lancers are mainly going for the raid, though. That spearman probably didn't even see them running through the stealth forest, and they should find some kills. And oh boy.
And he's added that second, I like that. He's added that second outpost. He has places to hide here now.
He heard you.
Hey, he probably did.
Probably did.
I sent it to him mentally.
Nice, nice. Through the power of love.
Yeah, okay. Villager coming forward from LucifroN now, so maybe wants to set up some more outposts on the south side there. He was also building more siege in the middle, but Viper once again looping around, like you said, with those Lancers. 2 Springolds now, 1 Mangonel, and all the Spearmen in front. Oh, what a great reaction time there from LucifroN.
Indeed.
Still going to lose some villagers, though.
Uh-oh, that's 2 down. That's maybe 3 down. Might find a 4th one. The pathing isn't the prettiest one. And that was a really successful raid. Now the big question, how can Viper deal with this one? Because we see the double Springald by LucifroN as well. So 2 Springolds alone for the Viper won't cut the chase anymore.
And with the men-at-arms in front, too. It's going to be very difficult for the Viper. Outpost on the opposite side of that wood line. Viper now chasing 1 spear with his Khan, but this army is coming in around the Uvu, and that's where all the production is set up from Viper. And LucifroN's like, okay, you're not going to fight me. I will simply take down your pastures here. Viper is going to pack them up and leave. He might bring them back later, but the stables will also need to leave as his Lancers are not in the right position to counter this, and even if they were, I don't think they can.
Oh, and look at that. Second building going down, or at least burning, means that LucifroN will get extra resources. Now the repair on the stable, just in time, repositioning themselves a bit further back. And you see LucifroN trying to find a different angle. Viper, is he annoyed by this one? Not yet.
48 villagers for LucifroN, 47 villagers for Viper, but it's the army count that I'm looking at right now. 42 military population in favor of LucifroN, and only 28 for Viper. He does have the higher impact unit, though, in the Lancers. It's just countered by the Spearman from LucifroN. So it's really hard for him to gauge against that Spirit, or against that Siege, unless LucifroN gets out of position. And there's a Springald emplacement, I believe, on that outpost there, right?
Yeah, absolutely correct. Villagers now pulled heavily onto the woodline here for the Viper. Has so much there. Lancers trying to go for another raid. Viper, 10 population behind.
Okay,
maybe
3
finds the kill.
Springolds now.
But out of position. Ooh, survives still.
LucifoN doing a great job keeping his infantry, guarding his siege. Viper doesn't feel like he can commit. He actually garrisoned in that outpost. I don't really understand why he needs to run away from that position. It was never going to stay up, but he comes in with the Lancers, tries to get a good connection against the Mangonel, and he's going to commit to that Mangonel as well. He will lose the Lancers, but the Mangonel doesn't die.
Wow, survives and gets some more shots in, and now maybe repair behind this one. Builds a second Mangonel pretty soon as well. Oh, that was so good. And that was the beautiful springled micro by LucifroN that gave him the edge in this fight.
Yeah, and we saw the remains of all the springleds from Viper dead there. He's only got one behind his town center. The Mangonel, another one being built. Viper is on the back foot here. He lost a few villagers on that wood line too.
Look at the pulse of LucifroN. He knows what he is going to do.
LucifroN is getting nervous here. He knows he's right on the brink of taking this. Viper on the brink of going down. 0-3 so far in the sets. Another Springald falls. LucifroN right under the TC. He's super confident. Up to 122 pulse right now with the Mangonels behind this infantry army. Viper just can't get close.
Oh, got it. 20 villagers idle there in the town center now as well. The Lancers not really going for the raid. Woodline not really efficient without any girls around. Look at the floating resources by LucifroN as well. He could even go for more army.
Yeah, great play from LucifroN. And he's even like, a lot of players might have decided to maybe all in there, but he's playing it safe. He knows he has the advantage. He knows the villagers he killed, and there's potential for a clear up here from Viper. Viper tanks a Mangonel shot there at the front. He heads in with the Lancer, splits his forces. Let's see if he can get a Mangonel this time around. He managed to get a Springle, managed to get a Mangonel, trying to get that last one. Lost so many crossbows, though, to the Mangonel shots, and he does take out the first Mangonel, cannot get the second, and only has 3 crossbows left over.
And the Viper has to tap this one out. GG, LucifroN takes it 3-1 and goes 1-2 in overall sets.
Fantastic performance there from LucifroN. He played it steady in most of those matches, and it really worked out for him. Viper needs to start asking himself some questions. It's still possible for him to go through because we have 6 out of 8 players going through, but now he's going to need help from others. He's going to need to win out first, number 1. He'll need 2 wins in a row, and he needs 2 players, I believe, to go 1-4.
Or someone 2-3
and
and the one that he beat. Right? Yeah, but it's going to be quite some math that we need to do there if you are a Viper fanboy and want to see him go through. Rule number 1, he has to win tomorrow and the day after that.
Yeah. So tough for the Viper, but for LucifroN, he gets his first win under his belt. It was a fantastic matchup, and we saw the quality there. I mean, we couldn't really see it against MarineLorD because MarineLorD is just so strong, right? Sick. And against his brother, I think his brother kind of counters him as well because they play so many times together. He actually, I was told that LucifroN won the next 5 games they practiced.
Wow.
After they played his set.
Really?
Yes,
really?
He went 5-0 after that. So he proves himself here against the Viper. Viper still looking to prove that he deserves that number 1 seed. So.
Yeah. Obviously, that seed is coming from S-tier tournaments.
Yeah.
He had a semi-final performance. He won an S-tier tournament. That's why he was so high in the ranking. Plus, obviously, people got invited after strong performances, so had a good run there. So far, the big question mark of the tournament, where a lot of people felt, and I, before the tournament, predicted he either will make top 2 or bottom 2.
Yeah.
Right now, it's not looking like top 2.
Yeah. Well, we hope that he can go through. It's going to be at the expense of other players, though, if he does. LucifroN, what did you take away from that set?
First of all, stronger civilization picks, right?
Yep.
We questioned his draft quite a bit against VortiX yesterday and didn't really understand what was going on. Some felt a bit shaky. This time it felt very clean. He went into those games with a clear plan. And French against Beastyqt, not a pretty matchup. I think the 3 fair matchups, he all won.
Yeah. The HRE mirror looked...
English, he won all 3 mirrors.
Yeah.
Mongol mirror, HRE mirror,
Oh, yeah,
English
true.
mirror.
Actually, this is more mirrors than we've seen the whole tournament.
Yeah. But it's like, it felt so non-mirror style because the English mirror were different approaches.
Yeah.
This one was the aggression against the defense.
It was only the HRE that was kind of a very, very similar approach.
Yeah, and there it also was like spearman opening
Yeah.
against non-spearmen, then the relic advantage, and then we had the different army compositions.
Yep. Pretty quick set, pretty technical set between both players. And do you want to do the honors here, Dilly,
I can
for
do that.
interview?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Yes, for day number 3, that was the first set. We have 3 sets following up, and actually we have Nilly, who's going to be doing an interview with LucifroN. We will get LucifroN's thoughts on this set. We'll see how he's feeling after taking his first win against TheViper, and we will head over to the couch right now.
LucifroN, 3-1W. How do you feel?
Oh, it feels great, of course, after a rather rough start in the tournament. Like, I was coming here, like, I have to win this or it will be really hard to, like, make it out of the group stage. So, yeah, very happy, like, the games and the drafts went kind of as I planned. Like, I was talking about it with my brother yesterday, and I'm pretty much, we kind of talked about drafts a bit, and I kind of expected this outcome in terms of drafts, like in the matchups we played, and also in the map. So I'm very happy with that, and then I managed to perform well in game, and overall took the series. So I'm really happy.
Okay, yeah, you look happy. Honestly, like yesterday we talked a bit. I thought, like, I tried to feel how you felt with your set against the brother, and you were like really focused. But yeah, I see that you're lighting up a bit. You obviously have quite some history playing the Viper, right? You faced each other in Genesis. I think you faced again in SteelSeries Prime Cup, if I remember correctly.
And in once again, I think like he was 2-1 against me in series before here, and I think it was 4-1 in 5-2 in maps for him.
Okay. So were you like you were kind of confident in going in there with the preparation now?
Like, out of all the matches we played, I felt like the most confident in this one so far. Like, first of all, it was best of 5 instead best of 3, so I usually prefer longer series.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, like coming to this tournament in like practice games and tournament, and well, not tournaments, not that much, but practice games, ladder I was doing well, and I had a solid idea on how I wanted to play, and the meta is kind of stable because, well, there was a patch a few days ago, but it just made some good tweaks, but nothing that changed dramatically the way you play. So I felt that if I performed good, I had a good chance. Yeah.
So going into game number 1 there, we had the English mirror on Altai. You decided to go for the early extra TC. Well, how can he approach this against you? Because you felt so bulletproof and like I didn't see like any mistakes.
Yeah, there's this thing with Altai that depending, like I decide this based on how the map spawn. Like some spawns with just the second TC you can defend pretty much everything, and with English it's kind of hard to break because you have to spend so many wood on ramps if you want to break it that way that your opponent will out-lombo you. And he also has like the network of citadels with the second TC. So I felt that unless the map is super open, Altai, it's really hard to punish such an opening in Altai.
And then you were grouping up, you just got to a big number of men-at-arms, and then he was on the hill with the mangonel, with his full army, with the tower, and you decided, I don't care, I will push him away. Like, where do you get those balls from?
Like, the thing was that as soon as, I knew I was ahead economically, so as soon as I hit 200 pop, I said, okay, from this point on, it's only getting worse for me if I wait. Like, I have to like go now. I kind of knew I was ahead, like in army and so on. And men-at-arms take so long to kill by lombos, by castles, that I knew that as long as I sniped the mangonels, like that fight would be really long, but it would always fall on my side. Like I made a tower, so I get the buff as well. And the castle and the lombos make like 1 damage, 2 damage to men-at-arms. So it's at some point it's about the men-at-arm numbers, I feel. And I also wanted to get in top of his siege production, so he couldn't get like 3 or 4 mangonels because that's when it would be really tricky for me to break.
And then we went into that French Abbasid game on Lipany. You went into the kind of sneaky 3 barracks behind the woodline there. Did you think you would achieve more damage there?
Yeah, definitely. Like I felt that, like in game I was debating whether to go pro scouts and delay a bit my push or not go pro scouts and go for it. I had a few amount of sheep, but I still decided to go for pro scouts. So then my push was a bit delayed. Like by the time I started like actually attacking his villagers, he hit castleites. So he was in time to make a few crossbows. And I was kind of aware about the counter push with siege, so that's why I went for a rather fast castle. Like I even put the guild hall on stone. So my idea was get a few economic damage, fall back on my castle, be ahead economically, and eventually win. But it didn't work out. At this strategy I've done a few times. Half of the times games go like this where I just lose. The other times when I had like a very fast timing and maybe the opposite player delays his castle timing a bit, you get so much idle time that I feel it can work. But it's a lot about execution, yeah.
And then we went into the HRE mirror. Maybe you can share some of your secrets. How do you, with a very reasonable spawn there in Relics, get the advantage 3 versus 2?
So I think that like he went for a super fast castle, but like without any units. So it's kind of tricky to get relics when there are like 2 spears waiting for you already. So my thought process was like delay a bit my tech, but have spearmen like in his relics, so even if he gets castle earlier, he won't get them. And then I also kind of expected him to go knights that don't do that well against the spearmen. So I thought that by the time I could get 3 or even 4, because he wasn't making any units. In the end, I got 3 because even if they spawn like a bit farther away from you, like if you play by this, you minimize the variance because you kind of already have the prelates there by the time you hit castle.
Yeah, it worked out beautifully for you. And 3 against 2 relics there. Give me win percentage. Like, how confident were you?
Like once I had the advantage in relics and he got no economic damage with his knights, that I think are later in Imperial are kind of a bad unit, and I saw the Imperial timing was even. I was very confident in taking that game. Like I knew that as long as I didn't like mess up, like it was really hard for him to defend. Like my Landsketch number, sorry German speakers for that pronunciation.
Sound perfect.
As long as my Landsketch number was higher, then he couldn't really take the melee fight. So I thought, okay, then I get the siege advantage and I get the castle, and it should be extremely hard for him to like have any counterplay.
And then you went into the Mongol Mirror. You went for those spearmen, and it felt like you were just on the verge of breaking him and denying that tower. He just barely got that one up. Did you feel like you were on the back foot there, or did you feel like, okay, you forced enough reaction?
I think that the trade-off was quite even because I forced some idle time, both by making the tower, then garrison units in the tower, then repairing the Ubu. He had to spend on the tower as well. And I didn't make that many spears. It was 6, but by the cost of 3 because of the stone. So yeah, like I kind of went for the barracks because my stone was too far away from my TC. And I didn't scout in time. I didn't want to invest in a scout like he did, so I didn't scout whether he was going for units or not. So I thought, okay, get the barrack, be safe. Then if I see his stone is in a awkward place, make a few spears and put some pressure. Because I feel that the spears are good later on as well with the army. Like they counter knights, and I kind of know that Viper likes to make knights. So I just felt that they would be good later on in the army composition.
Makes lots and lots of sense. Now you're 1-2. You have everything in your hands again. You can easily make it into the top 6 out of the 8 playing here. Who do you want to play tomorrow?
So I think I can only play either. Well, I guess it depends on the results, but I was thinking about it, and I think it's Leenock, DeMusliM, DeMista, one of the 3.
Let me think, they're 1-1. So Leenock, DeMusliM, DeMista.
VortiX, but I have already played him.
So
one of those 3. I'm not sure. Maybe I kind of want to avoid DeMista. I've practiced with him sometimes, and he usually wins a reasonable amount of the games. And he has his own style. Like, he's a very unique player in that he thinks a lot about the game and does his own thing and doesn't really care like so much about the meta and stuff like that. So it can be tricky. But it works for him. Like, it's smart, but it can be tricky to play against him. So yeah, probably one of the other 2, but I think skill-wise, it's really close between everyone here.
Okay, so sweet, and yeah, we will see. Maybe VortiX actually doesn't convert his victory against Leenock. Leenock goes to 1, then it's unlikely that you actually will face him. The loser of Mr. and DeMusliM could be a likely opponent for you tomorrow. We will have the next set for you. Leenock against VortiX, covered by Beastyqt and Grubby after the highlights of the previous set.